Hey Scott, and welcome to the second video in our little series.
Hello, how's it going, Alex?
Doing all right, doing all right. Finally got 16 people in our leaderboard.
Woo.
It's pretty high so far.
And a lot of them are actually active too.
More than half. Looks like it's counting stars.
All right.
So without further ado, let's get right into the different days that we've got. We've got days 2 through 5 today, I think, that we want to cover.
Yeah.
So let's start with day 2. Well, before we start with day 2, what do you think of day 1?
I thought it was pretty good. It was a fun puzzle. I thought maybe a little harder or a little more work than last year's day one.
Mm,
Last year's day one, I think I did it in a one-liner.
nice.
I think it was just like a for each loop where you just add a couple numbers.
Right.
This one, at least the new lines gave it a little bit of an interesting twist for a day one.
Yep. Get some new lines and some intermediate values you have to keep track of.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one.
Okay. And part B. Oh, what was part B again? Part B was the
Oh yeah,
top three or
yeah,
something.
we had to sum up the top three, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't too bad.
So I had to just keep a little bit more data as we were going through.
Right. I think for the first time through, a lot of people or not a lot of people, but some people ignored groupings. Like they didn't keep track of all the elves. They only kept track of the highest total.
Mm.
Whereas part 2, you kind of had to keep track of either the highest 3 or keep track of all of them and sort them and they get the 3 highest.
Yeah, those are the only two strategies I really saw from everyone's code that I saw.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go into day 2.
All right.
So day 2, setting up at the beach, playing rock, paper, scissors, with a strategy guide. So this was interesting, right? Because one side has ABC and the other side has XYZ. They don't tell you what XYZ is, but you assume that XYZ is the same as ABC.
That's such an advent of code style question.
You don't really know. Something
But you
happened.
assume, and you can also probably assume that your assumption was incorrect for part two.
All right. uh, the
This was a good
elves,
one.
the ADHD elves, something happens, right? Something breaks or connection disconnected, and you have to assume. Okay. So yeah, so this one, I guess there's a couple of things to keep track of as well. Like you have to keep track of who won, who lost. You
Yeah,
have to keep track of the amount or the move they used to win, to tie, or to lose, right? Whether they used a
yeah.
rock to win, tie, or lose, or whether they used a paper to tie, win, or lose, or the scissors tie, win, or lose. There's a couple of things to keep track of here. So I would say a little bit more complex in terms of
Just a
just
little
because
more
the
data.
scoring.
And also maybe splitting the input was a little hard for some people, maybe, because you couldn't just take the whole line. You
Yeah,
had to somehow extract two pieces of data out of each line.
right. Whether you ignore the space as delimiter or whether you have to parse through it, right, and handle
Yeah.
it. And then part 2, if I believe, or if I remember correctly, I believe was you find out that XYZ is not the same as ABC. XYZ is actually the result of whether you win, lose, or
Yeah.
tie.
So then you had to decide based on what they played, what you played.
Right.
So you get the points for win, lose, draw, and then also for the shape that you played. So you just had to figure out that based on theirs.
Yeah.
A little more conditions, I guess.
Yeah. I think see, I don't remember exactly what I did for this one, but I do remember that it wasn't too much different than the first one in terms of my approach. I just had to change when and where XYZ is. But I realized going to this, actually, I realized going through it again that there was a better approach. So you'll see in my solutions that I have 2 sets of solutions. One for just, get it out the door as fast as possible. And a second
Yeah.
one after I did part B, I was like, oh, I could have done this differently. But yeah.
This one was fun. I saw some animations of this one on Reddit. People like tried to animate all the games going on. Like, boom, 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 boom. I don't know.
Nice.
Not too much you could do with it though.
Yeah.
So far, I'd say all of the questions so far haven't really been as animatable as some in the past.
All right. Well, this one, I mean, I
Maybe
noticed the first 2
the crane one
days.
could have been cool. Oh,
The first 2 days, like the input set was huge. Like the input set, you know, in the
yeah.
past, maybe 100 lines or so, but the input set on this one is like 2,500 lines.
2,500. Yeah.
And so animating 2,500 rock paper scissors games.
It's going to be a long animation.
It's a long animation, yeah. So anyway, pretty cool. So that was day 2. Let's go check out day 3.
All right.
Okay, rucksacks.
Yeah.
Rucksacks
So
with the
this one,
compartments. All right.
you pretty much just had to split each rucksack in half and find out which letter appeared in both, right?
Right, and both halves. And then depending on the letter that appeared into both halves, each letter has a different point.
Yeah.
And then depending on
Based on its position in the alphabet,
yeah,
but also uppercase letters who came after lowercase letters, I guess.
right.
So
Is it
lowercase
that
Z was like points 1 through 26.
right? Is it the same order in ASCII? Are the lowercase before the uppercase in ASCII, or is it after the
I think
uppercase in
so.
ASCII?
I'll double check on that.
Yeah, let's do it right now. ASCII characters table. And if we look at these tables,
Uppercase is first.
Uppercase is first. So you wouldn't
And
be
there's
able
some
to
things in the
do.
middle too,
Oh,
like
yeah.
some underscores, brackets, and stuff. So yeah, using an ASCII table might not have been the best.
Yeah. So there's some garbage in the middle.
But you could just use the lowercase, and then if it's uppercase, just add 26.
Ooh, yeah.
So you don't really need
You don't need
too
all
much
of them.
to account for it.
Right.
I think I just ended up typing it all out into a string and then getting the index.
I think I did too. I was like,
I think I have a
I
giant
don't want to
ACD of
think
it.
about it very much, right? You just want to get it out the door. So you're
It
like,
doesn't take more than like 10 seconds to type the whole alphabet.
right. So cool.
Yeah.
And then I believe part B was what? Trying to find something with all
Totally
of them.
forget.
Let me look at mine.
Yeah, I'll check it out. It was. Oh, it was something about groups of 3 elves. You had
Oh
to find
yeah.
like a badge number, which was
You have to take 3 rucksacks at a time and
yeah. So
find
you had
that
to
one
find
that
the
was
letter that
common.
appears in all 3.
Right.
Yeah,
With the same point scoring
that's
system.
interesting. Not
Yeah.
really much more difficult though.
It was like a different problem almost, right?
Yeah,
Because before you
I
were
feel like
just
that's kind of.
doing things like horizontally, but now you also have to do things vertically and horizontally. So it was kind of interesting.
I feel like all the questions so far, part twos haven't been like a difficulty jump from part 1. It's just been different.
Hmm.
Whereas in the past, it seems like part 2 was significantly more work or harder. These ones just change a couple things.
Yeah.
The parameters change, but not really any more difficult.
Well, a little bit more difficult.
Maybe.
A little bit more difficult. A couple more a couple more changes you have to keep track of, or a different, almost a different problem.
Yeah.
Like this one, I would argue is almost a different problem. You're not splitting anymore, so you can throw away that code. But you're still looking for common letters. It's that instead of looking for common letters amongst 2 halves of a rucksack, you're looking for common letters amongst 3 rucksacks.
Yeah.
And so depending on how you're iterating through your lines, you might find it, interesting ways to either like skip 3 lines and always get 3 at a time, or fill a buffer with 3 lines and proceed that way. Different ways to approach it, but yeah. Anyway, that was cool. Day 3. Shall we move on to day 4?
Of course.
camp cleanup.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah. So
Overlapping pairs.
yeah, everything has a range. For example, 2 to 4 and 6 to 8, and you have to find which ones overlap. And so they have this nice little graphic down here where they've kind of visualized each of the ranges.
Yeah, and if I remember, part one, you had to find rows where the entirety of one part was inside of the other.
Right.
So it was completely included in the other. Like if you see, it looks like that 6 and 6 and 4 to 6 one, the second one to the bottom.
Yep.
6 is completely included in there.
Yeah. How about this one?
Yeah, that one too.
This
3,
one
4,
as
5,
well.
6, 7 is completely inside of the other one.
Right. And then I find how many of those have that, right?
Yeah, how many have those complete enclosures? And then part B, part two, if I remember, was any overlaps at all.
Right.
If they have any of the same numbers.
So this one, again, kind of interesting. I mean, you'd have to unwrap each of these halves of, on either side of the comma to create a range.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, the literal itself contains the minus, which is a range operator in some languages. So I don't know if anybody decided to actually use an eval. Hopefully not, but to save time, maybe someone had considered it. But yeah, so 2 to 4, 6 to 8, considering ranges, and then finding out how to figure out whether one is completely within the other, right? I think I just use, like, if, for example, if the lowest number of one is greater than the lowest number of the other, or the greatest number of one is less than the greatest number of the other, and then flipped it around as well. So test both cases.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did too. Just a bunch of if statements.
If statements,
a bunch of if conditions.
A little bit of less than or equals or greater than or equals and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much just like collision detection stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And that wraps up day 4. Let's move up to day 5.
Ooh.
Supply stacks.
This one. I thought this was fun. I'll let you introduce the problem at least.
Oh, well, we're just given a specific number of stacks. So in the example we're given 3 stacks. So we're given a initialized stack where each of the stacks have certain letters. Like stack 1 has N and Z, stack 2 is D, C, and M, and stack 3 has P. And then from that initial state, we're going to be changing stuff around. Depending on the directions, you have to move stuff around.
One at a time.
Yeah, the first time I did this, I didn't read the directions carefully. I didn't do it one at a time. But it meant that part B
was already done.
Was already done because part B was
first.
Yeah, I'd actually end up doing part B first. I did part A, and I was like, I got the wrong answer. And then read the text again. I was like, oh, got the wrong thing. What a waste of time. And then I reconfigured my code, and then part B came up. I was like, oh, I'm glad I could just commented my other code out rather than just deleting it and overwriting it, because I was just,
you have to retype it all.
Yeah. So I could just uncomment, make a few tweaks, and then move on from there.
Question on this one for you.
Sure.
Did you actually programmatically import the input, or did you just hard code the stacks into arrays?
I took like almost a full minute thinking about it. It's like, what would make the most sense?
Yeah.
Because I knew from just looking at the sample, it'd be much easier just typing it all out, right?
Yeah.
But then when I was looking at my data, my actual set, which I think was 9 across and up to 9 high, I was like, oh, it's like right on the border of like, do I do this programmatic or do I just type it in? And I think at the end of it, I just decided, screw it, I'm just going to type it in just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
And then I went back later and I, unrolled it programmatically, which I'm glad I did later, because I realized when I was doing it later, it took me like good 10, 15 minutes to figure out.
I think doing that probably would have taken me longer than the rest of the entire problem did.
Yeah.
I looked at it, I'm like, I imported it and I'm like, well, with PHP, all of my spaces are gone. I don't even know how many spaces there are. So there's no way like I could
Uh,
easily determine which stack it's supposed to be in. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to type it all out. So I spent like 4 minutes typing it, but it probably would have taken 20 just to figure out how to import it like as stacks.
right. Yeah. So, the first go around, I just did like you
Yeah.
did. I just typed them all in.
But
And
you
then the
went
second,
back and completed it.
yeah, and I went back and it's like, oh, well, now I got time. I'm on the leaderboard, which is good.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went back and parsed it programmatically.
Yeah. This one I had to teach a lesson, so I got interrupted. So this one actually took me, I was like almost done, but then like, okay, the students were
Got
done with
pulled
their
away.
exercise, so it was time to teach the lesson. So I had to put it on the shelf for like an hour and then come back and finish.
Now, did you put each stack into their own array, or what did you? How did you create each stack? Let's put it that
No, I
way.
believe I had one array. I put them all inside of one array with subarrays for each stack.
Okay, so two-dimensional arrays.
And in order to get like the stack numbers to match up, I just had
Mhm.
an empty element for the first element of the main array so that
Okay,
I could use the indexes
right.
to target each stack.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Just like basically how the stack is configured, except
Yeah.
for the zero stack.
And then it was just pushing and popping.
Right. Now, is the top of the stack the beginning of your array, of your sub
No,
array, or
top
is
was
it
at the
bottom?
end for me.
Top was at the end for you.
So
Interesting.
yeah, which made it easy to pop them off.
Right. Because it pops and pushes from the end of the array.
Yeah, because we were always taking off the top, so I figured just pop.
Right. Well, I
And
don't
that was
have
it.
pop.
Well, that's fun.
So I did it from the beginning. So D is
Oh,
actually the first element of my
oh,
table of, and I
interesting.
didn't end up actually using arrays. I just ended up using a string and then just manipulating
Okay.
the characters in the string. It's like the first
Okay.
character of the string, the second character of the string, the third character of the string.
Oh,
So
that was probably a lot faster to type out. I totally should have done that. Yeah, I actually created them as arrays, but yeah,
uh,
it took a long time to type.
yeah.
I could have saved a lot of time by just stringing it.
So most of my code would be in, I guess, in like PHP or JavaScript or in
Mm,
other languages. It's basically substrings. So I just manipulated a bunch of substrings.
that's nice. One thing I'm finding a little bit annoying about PHP compared to JavaScript, which I did for Advent of Code last year, is JavaScript you can just straight up iterate on a string.
Hmm.
PHP you have to split it into an array before you can iterate, which it's just one extra step, but it annoys me.
Yeah, that's true.
I like in
Uh,
JavaScript I can just iterate a string directly.
you could just create a pointer and manipulate the pointer to where you want it to go. But yeah,
Okay.
removing a specific character in this, no, you could do that too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's not as direct as JavaScript.
Yeah.
That's definitely true.
I mean, JavaScript, it essentially is an array.
Yeah. Same with COBOL. Because I
Um,
worked with strings instead of working with a table or essentially an array, uh, I just end up recreating strings all the time by just
okay.
getting like portions of strings all at once.
I'm gonna check Reddit Advent of Code and see if anybody has made any cool animations for this one. This one seems like it could be really coolly like, animated.
Oh yeah, the crates, the crane and
Yeah.
the
I
crates.
want to see like a crane moving all the crates. No, not. Oh my God. No, no, no. I tried to search Advent of Code and then I just like pressed enter. I clicked on one that looked like it was correct, but it like cut off the end of it. And it was actually Adventure Time porn, which was probably not the subreddit that I was looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Reddit is probably
someone made a cool
half.
animation. Oh,
Reddit is probably half porn anyway.
someone made a Python terminal animation of the
Python
cranes
terminal.
moving. You should check it out.
Okay.
Go to the Advent of Code Reddit, and it's like the second post right now, or the third one.
Day 5.
The third one of like if you sort by hot. Or it's not the solutions, it's in just like the main Advent of Code channel.
Oh, okay. So,
I think most of the visualizations aren't posted in the solutions threads. Yeah, that one right there, that visualization. It's kind of cool.
Oh man.
That's pretty awesome. I like the adjustable height of the crane.
Yeah. I like that it's all ASCII.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I wonder if there's more. I'll keep looking.
What is oh, they're keeping track of the top crate at the bottom. That's what that is. Interesting.
Okay. Oh, as they're going. Interesting.
Uh, eight's getting pretty big. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, there's a bunch of them.
Did you find more?
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit, there's another funny one. Yeah,
Whoa.
that one. What did they use to make this? Keep watching. They use like, oh man, they got everything falling down at the end. Completely knocking over the stacks.
Yeah, but they still got the bottom one, right? Oh, but they need the top one. Huh?
Yeah. That's how I imagine the elves doing it.
Yeah.
Well, good enough.
Good. Just stick it there for now. Go to the next one. Yeah. The
Right. I still
programmer
think
will
that
figure it out.
I still want you to post all of your COBOL code because, like, on Reddit, because you'll probably be the only one.
Oh, I did.
Oh yeah.
I looked at the last, days 1 through 5, actually days 1 through 6, and no one had done it at COBOL. I was like, all right,
Okay.
I guess I should, for the sake of the COBOL language, at
Yeah.
least contribute to COBOL solutions.
You get any comments or anything yet?
I don't know. I only did it a couple hours ago, so we'll see. We'll see. Actually, I can check right now on my. I don't think so. I got 1 karma. All right.
All right. For day, which day did you do it for?
I did for all the days.
Oh, okay. How do I access them all? Solution mega thread. Okay, day 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me see. COBOL. COBOL. Oh, there you are. All right, now you got more karma.
Sweet. Sweet, sweet karma. All right. Well, we've got days 2 through 5. Now we had today was 6, tomorrow 7, and then on Thursday we have 8. So we
All
will
right, so I
cover.
get 3 more next time.
Yeah, we'll cover 3 next time.
I'm hoping they get harder.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for it too. I'm not sure if it's going to gradually ramp up,
Yeah.
or like all of a sudden we're just going to be hit in the side of the face with a question that is going to remain gray for most of us until like day
By day
10 or
10, we
day
need to get a
12.
hard one.
Uh,
Because they've been all like around the same difficulty so far, I'd say.
yeah, I would agree for the most part. I think they have made an effort to make it
More accessible.
well, no, I was going to say the reading has become more and more crucial in terms of the puzzles as you went on.
Yeah.
Um, so the puzzles themselves sounded more complex, but then, in terms of actually programming it, once you understand the problem, yeah, I think, like you
Yeah, the
said,
programming
it
wasn't really hard.
wasn't too bad. If we talk like strictly lines of code, I think, yeah, they're pretty similar.
It's still fun. I'm enjoying it.
Cool. Well, hopefully things will keep going well for both of us, as well as anybody else out there who's trudging along.
Good luck.
I will. Let me see what else I got. Yep, that's it for today. So
All right.
I'll catch you next time, man.
See you later, Alex. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.